Today, we're sitting down with singer, songwriter, storyteller, and guitar maker Dallas McGee. Dallas McGee started his musical career in the early 70s, playing local clubs and dance halls across the country. This is where he homed in his craft. As a songwriter, Dallas went on to work with some of the greatest known artists in the business. Now, Dallas spends most of his time in West Georgia, making and repairing guitars for many of today's well-known hit makers. Now, let's talk with Dallas McGee. Well, we got Mr. Dallas McGee in the house today for our first episode of Trails to Fame. Welcome to the show.
I appreciate it. Thank you much, man.
We're so glad you're here. Absolutely.
Thank you.
So tell me, you're known as a songwriter.
Yep.
What got you writing songs?
Well, back when I was a kid, when I got my first guitar, my dad bought the guitar for me, and I really had no idea what I was doing when I got it. And after about 6 months or a year or so, he went and bought me 4,400 guitar chords. It was a Mel Bay book. That was 1963. And I've still got that book. But anyway, what I'd do is I'd just learn to change chords and go fast as I could between chords. And, it'd get boring. So I just started making up lyrics with them and started writing songs.
Wow.
I don't know how many songs I've written. A lot. So
that's incredible. Now, did you have some family influence? Was there songwriters in your family as well?
Well, no songwriters, but my grandfather, he was an old style guitar picker. He played Wildwood Flower and things like that.
Right.
But when I was coming up, when I was real little, we were pretty dirt poor, and we all lived together in a farmhouse. My grandfather farmed, was a sharecropper in the early 50s. And the only thing they kept was an upright piano in the hallway of that house. My uncle had come home from leave, and he'd play boogie woogie on the piano, and everybody get singing. My grandfather would get to playing. Then they'd start drinking moonshine, and then the music kept going, but the quality went downhill.
Exactly. Now, so I understand that you've written some soundtracks for a movie. Tell me a little bit about that, what the movie's kind of about.
Well, that's kind of crazy. The way this started out was I've written a song called Weaver Road. And it's about the southwest corner of Paulding County, Carroll County, and Haralson County, because they all come together right there around my house. I live on the edge of a swamp called Hannah Swamp. And I wrote this song about it, and I recorded it down in Alabama. And the guy that was producing it, he said, "Hey, you know what?" He said, that ought to be a movie. And then about a week later, another guy, I didn't know that John Hornsby had told me this, said, you probably ought to have that made into a movie.
Wow. And
I had another guy say the same thing to me. So I always figured if 3 people tell you something, that's something you ought to look into, So I started shopping this thing, trying to find somebody to do it. And I knew somebody in Villa Rica that was in the film industry. A guy I went to high school with named Burton Collins, he was in the movie business in the 70s and early 80s, and I didn't know this, but he's written like 30 top 10 hits, music hits. He moved to Nashville, and that's where he is now. But anyway, I sent him the song. Didn't get a lot of response, not much attention, and so this one guy that producer of this show and I know, Bobby Ayers, I'd been talking to him, and he said it was going to be a movie. And I said, take this song and see if this guy that's doing a movie wants to write a script around this song. And he said, well, okay, I'll do that. Well, about 3 days later, I get a phone call, and the guy goes, well, I don't know about that, but could you rewrite the lyrics? And I said, no, I'm not going to rewrite the lyrics. I said, I'll write you a song for your movie if you'll send me the script. So he sent me a script, and I wrote the first song. And he called me up a couple days later, and he said, I'd kind of like a theme song for all the major characters in this. You think you could put something together? And I said, sure. And so the next thing I know, I'm writing songs for all the characters in this movie. That's how it happened. Welcome to Smooth Stone Guitars. Come on in. This is a repair bench where I'm working on a guy's electric guitar. He wants these Fishman Fluence pickups installed. It's kind of tricky. It's a new style of pickup. It's not anywhere near what used to be a pickup. Thing gets, I don't know. If you have the right controls, you can get 6 to 7 different sound tones out of that. So anyway, this is a repair bench. This is where I do most of the electronic work. This bench is a movable bench. This right here is a 1954 Martin 0018 that needs the neck taken off and reset. It's a beautiful guitar. Just needs some work. But this bench here is a movable bench, so whenever I need to have more room or whatever, then I can move this bench. Just take a regular old party balloon and we so what we do is we just take a regular old party balloon, put it in there, and we take a piece of cardboard that's been cut just a little bit bigger than the sound hole and put that in there, and you can see this piece of cardboard has been used in the past. But then when I spray the finish, none of the finish gets on the inside of the guitar. So that's one of the tricks we do right there. I've been building guitars now for about 12 years. Interesting story. I think in the studio interview we talked about my first guitar. One of the things I didn't say was that first guitar didn't have what's called a nut. Grab this right quick. Nut goes right here. Didn't have the nut on it, and my dad and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working right. We finally found out what a nut was, and we went outside, and I'm 10 years old, went to an oak tree in our backyard, cut a twig off of the oak tree, and whittled a nut. So I've been repairing guitars for about, a long time. A lot longer than I want to think. Yeah, you'd ask me about repairs and things like that. This is, and if it was anybody might know, this is a guitar that belongs to a guy named Jerry Braswell. He finished out his career playing for Porter Wagner. He worked for Ernest Tubbs' band for a while. I don't know, Jim Ed Brown, a few other people, some of the old style country players. Anyway, this guitar was the first guitar he had gotten from his father. His father actually purchased this guitar for him. And somebody in his family had sanded this thing so thin that the sides cracked on it and broke. That one broke. I guess they sanded it. I don't know what happened exactly to it. This side's broke over here. So what I had to do is I had to take the neck off so I can get the top and the back off of it and make 2 new sides for it. So basically what this is like building a whole new guitar. But Jerry trusted me enough to go ahead and work on this thing for him. I think this is a mid-50s Gibson J series of some type. I'm not even sure what it is. There's not a label left in there unless it's floating around in there. When I get the top and back off, I can find that out. Some of the other people that play my guitars, there's a guy named Paul Sykes, who's a singer songwriter out of Nashville, and he just wrote a #1 country hit for a guy named Jimmy Allen, I think's his name. The song's titled "Make Me Want To," and pretty excited about that. And Paul, if you get a chance, look up Paul on the internet. He's written some great stuff, and he's a great singer-songwriter. And I built a guitar for a bluegrass picker who's played with a lot of people, including Zach Brown, and there's been a few others. I built one for Rodney Adkins one time that was a tractor-themed guitar for Massey Ferguson tractors. and a couple of rodeo-themed guitars I built for Heston Implements for their Heston Rodeo out of Heston, Kansas.
Dallas, can you play us something on one of the guitars you've built?
Sure. Piece of cake, man. Grab this guitar here.
When'd you build that one?
This I built about 10 years ago. I ain't Willie, but I'm able. I ain't Willie, but I'm willing. I ain't Willie. He can't rhyme orange either. I ain't Willie. You can't believe your eyes. Well, I got a notice on that Facebook page. You might be in a photograph a friend of yours has made. When I clicked on it, much to my surprise, there was Willie Nelson staring me in the eyes. Well, I used to smoke that pot the way that Willie does, but I liked cocaine better. Now he's rich and I'm not. I ain't Willie, but I'm willing. I ain't Willie, but I'm able. Well, I ain't Willie. He can't rhyme orange either. Oh, I can't believe the picture on my eyes.
That's pretty good.
In the name of Porky Pig, well, that's all, folks.
That's talent. Tell me this, who were some of your biggest influence
You
in
know,
the country music?
I get that question a lot. I don't know that I had one big influence. You know, when I was young, before I went off to college, of course, I was into country music, and then my mom always had, she would switch back and forth between a rhythm and blues radio station and a country radio station. So when I was a kid, I was exposed to Ray Charles and the Temptations and the Supremes and all those people on the R&B, and then country on the other end. And as a matter of fact, my mom was one of only two white people that went to see Ray Charles in High Point, North Carolina in 1960. And anyway, then when I got in college, of course, I started listening to Southern rock. Became really my favorite. You know, I mean, I heard Jimi Hendrix, and that changed everything about the way I played electric guitar.
Right.
And then as far, I've tried to put my finger on this for a long, long time, who my biggest influences were. And I think partly Charlie Daniels, partly Ray Wiley Hubbard, Jerry Jeff Walker, Guy Clark, all those Texas guys, Towns Van Zandt, you know, those kinds of guys. They tell more story songs than they do chorus, verse, you know, kind of thing. They're more of a story.
Well, now speaking of that, I heard you're a great storyteller. Now, how did you get into that? Tell me something about that.
Okay. Here's the way that started. When I was born in Georgia, Carrollton, Georgia. My dad got transferred to North Carolina when I was 5. When I was 10, we moved back to Atlanta, and then we were between Atlanta and Villa Rica and Carrollton all the time. And then when I was 15, they moved us to Chicago. Now this is 1968. When I first went to school, I went to sign up for football practice. And I walked into the gym where all these kids were, and the coach goes, "You're here to play football?" I said, "Yes, sir, I sure am." He says, "Where are you from, boy?" I said, "I'm from Georgia." He said, "Well, what year are you?" I said, "What year?" I don't know, I'm 15. He said, No, what year are you in school?" I said, "Well, I'm going to be in the 10th grade." He said, "Oh, you're a sophomore." I said, "Well, this is my first time in Illinois, so I didn't know what it was supposed to be called." And he said, "There ain't no Z on that, son." And so I just started telling stories to make friends when I was there.
Right.
I mean, now, first thing I did is I told them I hated all them damn Yankees. That was the first thing I told them. And then got in a lot of fights over that one, and then wound up with some really, really good friends through the whole thing. But I guess I've just always been a storyteller. I'll tell you a ton of stories right now. I mean,
You got a good one? Tell us. Tell us one.
now, see, you put me on the spot.
Maybe a little small one.
All right, here's a short one.
All right.
And this is from football. First day of practice. Well, after that guy found out I was a sophomore, he said, "Well, you're supposed to have been here yesterday to get your equipment. Go upstairs, and there's this big guy up there, and he'll get you your equipment for you." So I'm walking up these steps, and this big kid was in there cleaning up and stuff. And I said, "Hey, Coach just sent me up here to get my equipment." He looked at me and he said, "No, the freshmen are down there." I said, "Well, I guess I'm a sophomore. I'm in the 10th grade." He looks at me and he just shakes his head and he goes, "This is going to be a long season." I said, "Okay, fine." So the first day that we were in pads and could do one-on-ones, now this guy was about 2.5 times bigger than me. First day of practice, buddy, we were doing one-on-one drills, and I made sure I got lined up on that guy, buddy, and we went head-to-head, and he just ran me over. He jumped up, went running to the back of the line, and I clipped him, man. I jumped up and ran and just knocked him on the ground from the back. I said, "We ain't done yet. Get back over here." He came over there, and he did it again, just knocked me down, just went on about 3 times. Finally, Coach said, "Hey, you need to stop this." I said, "Listen, I hate all you damn Yankees, and I'm going to kick his ass before this is all over," because he's laughing at me. So there you go. There's his story.
Absolutely. So you lived and worked in many parts of the country, I heard, including the southeast, west, and north. What was your lowest point in your career?
I guess the very lowest point was I was in a band. The band was called Dallas McGee. And we had done a USO tour, and we had played in Canada. We'd been about 18 weeks in Canada, and we were coming back, and I said, "You know what?" I said, "This job has cost me a wife. It's cost me a house. I've been living out of a suitcase now for 8 months. I'm sick of this. I'm going to quit." And I didn't know. I had 25 cents in my pocket. Didn't know where I was going to live. Didn't know what I was going to do for a living. And just really struggled with that for about 6 or 8 months. And just, that was pretty low. I mean, I did live out. Here's a good story for you. The bass player from that band and I moved in with his brother in a 2-bedroom, living room, and a kitchen, 4-plex. And we had about 1,600 watts of power, and we had PA cabinets as tall as this room. We moved all that stuff in his brother's living room. When they'd go to work in the morning, we hooked it up to his turntable. When they'd go to work in the morning, we'd crank that thing up, turn it up loud as it turn up. When we moved out 3 months later, that's when they used nails for drywall.
Yep.
All the nails were falling out of the ceiling from that thing vibrating that building. We set his kitchen on fire too, but that's another story.
Now, as a sound man, I love that part. I do the same thing, and it's wife, she comes down and yells at me, "Turn it down," but I can't never hear her, you know. So, you know how that goes. Well, tell me, what would you say your highest point it will be?
I think there's 2 times that I really think the most of. The one is the first time I met Charlie Daniels, and we were sitting around having drinks with him and doing a few illegal activities, and he was sitting to my left, and we were in the office, and we were sitting there, and the marijuana had come around, and I'd take it and hand it to Charlie, and we're talking and going on, drinking beer. It's about 4 o'clock in the morning, you know. Comes around pretty soon. There's no drugs coming around anymore. I'm like, well, what the heck happened to this? And I looked over. You know, Charlie's got all these joints stuck in between all his fingers, and he's sitting there holding them all. It's like, what are you doing, man? He said, the guys have had enough, and I don't smoke, so well, I think it's time for us to go. And he put them on the floor, stepped on him, walked out. So that was pretty cool. And then the other time was when we did a job with Vassar Clements. A lot of people don't know who he was. Musicians do know who he was. We were supposed to be an opening act for him in a little resort area in Wisconsin. For some reason, his band couldn't make it. I don't remember what it was. But he said, well, you guys, you just get up and play. We'll do 4 hours, nothing but you guys. Y'all get up and play, and I'll just play along with you. And I said, do you need me to tell you what key we're in when we're getting ready to do some? Nah. He said, I don't know what it is. And buddy, he tore it up, man. I'm telling you, he was one of the best instrumentalists I've ever had the honor of knowing. I'm not kidding you. Wow. The guy was great. So.
Well, tell me this, is there anything you'd like to add to the interview with the story you'd like your viewers to know about you?
Just that if you have a dream, I'm getting ready to write a new song, okay. And the title of it's going to be "Never Too Old to Dream." And if you have a dream and you can make that your life's passion, then I really think you ought to do it. And I don't care if you keep polishing your craft, you'll be able to make a living doing it. But you've got to love it more than anything else. It's got to be a part of your DNA, and you just got to focus on that and live for that. And, you know, I mean, I was an engineer for a long time, industrial engineer. Right. But I always kept coming back to this, you know, and I just never have really left it. And I don't think you can as a musician. I just don't think you can. So my big thing for everybody is to focus on what your dreams are and just pursue them. Just stay after them.
Well, good. Well, Mr. Dallas McGee, it's been so great to sit down with you for a few moments and talk about your life and all the stories you've got to bring to the table, and your musical career and you know, your highs and lows. And we just sure do appreciate you being here today, and just want to thank you once again.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Dallas McGee, everybody.
Now I found a purpose, everything I eat, bother everybody when I pass them on the streets, pass out silly pamphlets, cause my soul is free. Jesus came along and scared hippie out of